Hello Internet and welcome to my basement. You may be wondering why I've tied you down here, and it's because I have a particularly interesting little tale for you. About a certain theorist channel whom we all know and love. Or the four we all know and love. A certain theorist, Matthew, has been keeping secrets from us. A secret and dark lore that has been spanning his channel for years now, and that no one has uncovered, because it's all been hidden under the guise of jokes. Are you ready? Good. Great. So are we. Yeah. And before you accuse me of just trying to get views by putting matpat's name in the title, I can promise you there is actual lore here. Lore that can only be uncovered by doing exactly what matpat would do. I've been watching him since I was 9. I've been learning how to analyze. I've been learning, frankly, a lot of science and biology, and I'm actually going to do biology at college, so that's probably all thanks to matpat, honestly, and I have a very interest in psychology that I think was also probably started by matpat, so honestly this guy's done a lot for me, but also, and more crucially, he's taught me how to analyze media, put together little clues, and find that sweet, sweet lore! Even when the creator of said lore probably didn't intend it. And you know what? It's time to turn those talents on Matthew. It's time to give him a taste of his own medicine. What lore has he been hiding in his videos? And yes, I do realise that this video is coming out weeks after his retirement, and I have completely missed the trend. But in my defence, missing the trend by literal weeks is also something I would have learned from matpat. So, yeah. And before you... And let me just prove to you that there is lore here. I'm going to be using clips rather, so I'm not going to bother with clips, it's just a quick brief aside, but throughout his videos he has a very common rivalry with Mickey Mouse. It started in his How to Be a Disney Princess episodes. He follows him, he's trying to be a princess, and Mickey Mouse is, "You'll never be a princess, buddy boy!" And, that's all well and good. Well, no, it's not, he's really mean. And the two of them basically are engaging in a constant rivalry, but then, in one of his more recent appearances, I believe in an episode about copyright to do with Nemo, matpat drops the line, "You were a lot more fun when I was a kid," implying that these two are actually close friends, or close childhood friends, who have since, because Mickey, who have since become rivals and enemies, because Mickey has become corrupted by greed, as we see him counting his money. I would use clips to back that up, but, I really just... it's not important to the overall theory. I just wanted to prove that there is lore here. I didn't really know where else to put this cool little observation I've made. Anyway, on to the actual theory. Now, this theory, I'm going to basically recount as it's always been, because this is the theory I've been thinking of since literally, food theory was a few weeks old. When food theory, a few weeks after food theory's creation. Because I believe I noticed, he's filling in the theory logo, and I kind of assumed when all four were filled in, and the fourth channel had been around for a while, something big would happen. Classic video game logic, right? 4 things fill in, you expect their power to join in the middle and summon something. And that's kind of what this theory was built on. Obviously it was wrong, but I'm going to go through this theory as if that has yet to happen, and then I'll come in at the end, because you'll see why I'm choosing to do it that way. And so this theory starts with a few places. One, it starts with the episode about basically the Mushroom Kingdom being a bunch of bees, and how Toadette is going to lead to the death of Princess Peach. Really good episode, watch it a bunch of times, but I always find it weird that it started the ARG. And it's so weird a way to start the ARG. It glitches out the intro, you get this weird ominous darkness, and then this red text comes on the screen. It's always just tipped me off. And I heard him mention chaos theory in a GT livestream, and that always got me curious. and watching his breakdown of these challenges, yeah, it's interesting. But before we go to any actual theorizing about, and then over the years there have been more and more evidence that's piled on, and only proved my initial assumption correct, or only backed up my initial assumption anyway. But before we get into what that initial assumption is, first off, I should probably... Children. First off, what I should probably mention is the rules we will be playing by. For the most part, it doesn't matter, because basically anything that's important is going to be... Basically anything that's important will be mentioned, but... And that, to my knowledge, there's nothing directly disproving the theory in any of these. But GT Live won't be taken into consideration, as it's, in our reality, it's ad-lib, it's not scripted, so you could definitely do something to mess with the lore by accident. We also won't be taking sponsored videos or sponsored segments or merch, like promotion segments, into account, because obviously they also should, he doesn't have full creative control, therefore he might say something that he has to say for a sponsorship, and then it could mess with the entire lore. It's just not, it doesn't make sense to use something that may not be 100% accurate to the intended storyline. To my knowledge, that shouldn't be important, but if anyone wants to make their own matpat theory, try and disprove mine, those are the rules I will be playing by. Oh, also, obviously, the 2 episodes that go over how to beat the ARG are more like a director's commentary, and therefore should not be considered in-universe. And when you look at things in-universe, the ARG, the Chaos Theory ARG, is very weird. Actually think about it. In-universe, there's no reward, there's no ending. Sure, you're going to thank you for playing along, but that's more meta. And to my knowledge, there were prizes being awarded, merch, I believe. But again, they're all out of universe. In universe, in theory, your character sees this, gets sent on, opens these gates, and then nothing happens. Why? Why not? But before we get to that, I think it's worth me showing you exactly what I'm talking about. Well, and then I'll briefly explain it. Basically, I'm going to show you 3 clips, briefly telling you why they're important, and then afterwards we'll take all of those clips, all of the little details, you can just go back in the video and watch them, and put them all together into the basis of what will be forming the theory. Although that won't be the main theory, that will just be me proving the scaffolding for the theory. Alright, now this is the start of the ARG. Tell me if it seems a bit off to you as well. Yeah, it always seemed a bit off to me that this wasn't a code hidden in the background, a brighten the image situation, or anything like that. It's really ominous and weird. It's also glitchy, which, if you go through the ARG, glitches are pretty much regularly associated with Chaos Theory. Whenever Chaos Theory comes up, there are glitches. There's also red. And yeah, let's just be honest, a red being that speaks in code and is associated with glitches. That also happens to be an inverted colour, upside-down version of the Game Theory logo. Matpat has said he misses the age of YouTube when there were the Darkipliers and Antisepticeyes of the world, when everyone had their own evil persona. Yeah, I dare say that's what Chaos Theory is. I mean, even Chaos. In his recent Trombone Champ... In his Trombone Champ theory, he basically says that Chaos is bad. That bringing together the powers of Chaos, defeating the powers of Order, is not a good thing, that you're the villain of the game for that. So it's pretty clear that Chaos Theory, it's not surprising that when matpat is such a Type A person also, like just metally, matpat is a Type A person. He likes to be in control, he likes, detail, he's detail oriented. So the idea of Chaos Theory, yeah, pretty regularly, like Chaos would be very opposite to matpat. And so this got me thinking that, well, if Chaos Theory is literally being shown to you above the theory gates, and it even guides you at a certain point, and it's the one that's started this ARG, then I dare say we can assume that this glitch and Chaos Theory is always associated with glitches, I dare say that Chaos Theory is the being that's causing this glitch. The Chaos Theory is bringing you to the gates to open them. And since they're the theorist gates, and matpat is the game, food, film, and style, even though style hadn't been created by this point, theorist, but I don't think food had been created by this point either. The point is, the channels are game food theorists, right? Even though we may know them as game theory. So, matpat is the game theorist, the film theorist. So, the fact that these are the theorist gates, I think it's safe to say he's the one who erected these gates to keep this evil version of himself out that we've accidentally unleashed. We'll get into more that when we get to the story aspects, but for now, that's all you need to know. That was my initial assumption. And honestly, from there, I'm trying to think the best way to do this now. I made the assumption that someone on Team Theorist was an inside man helping put this edit, or Chaos Theory's power, into the episode. Chaos Theory is trapped behind the theory gates. How exactly is it doing this? It should be restricted. It must have managed to reach someone outside of the gates and get them to do it for them. But if someone in matpat's group was a traitor, well, then who would it be? Right? But, well, that's a mystery I want to keep. But then the Wilbur Suit ARG video came out, and it had this opening. At a certain point, I start going through it frame by frame, for good reason, which will only become relevant after you've seen it, but basically, in there, you'll see, going through it frame by frame, that there is a glitchy, inverted face in the static. Don't mind that for now. But anyway, pay attention to what he says afterwards. And then I'll tell you what that meant for me, and then we'll get to the third clip, and then we can finally get into the actual fun theory, working out who the traitor is. But yes, this clip does support the idea that there's a traitor in matpat's midst. Midst. Not mist. Midst.
Oh, an application for editor, huh? You can always use more help. Let's see what everyone else thinks.
Hello, head editor Dan here.
Oh, finally! Was worried you wouldn't pick up. None of the other editors seem to be around their phones right now.
Weird.
Anyway, just got an email about someone wanting to audition. Got any projects I can put them on? Dan? Dan? Dan!
There can only be one.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where today's episode is being worked on by a brand new editor auditioning for the job. Hopefully, he doesn't do anything creepy and start off a multi-month-long ARG that ultimately winds up being too obscure to be solved. Oh wait, that's exactly what's happening right now, isn't it? He's inserting creepy imagery of himself over my VO, isn't he? Darn it, not again! Well, this episode's already on a tight timeline, so I guess we're gonna have to keep it in. If creepy
Only be one.
Did you spot that? I mean, you should have. I was going keyframe. The inverted face. Yeah, remember how I said Chaos Theory is an inverted colour, upside down version of the Game Theory logo? Yeah. So at this point I was pretty sure that there was definitely a traitor in Game Theory's midst, for one reason and one reason only. One, while this is supposed to be a joke about the Wilbur ARG, while Wilbur does kill people in it, he doesn't kill other editors. In fact, to my knowledge, he's the first editor of that YouTuber, and either way, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, given what they were going for. But what makes even less sense is matpat saying, "not again," because that definitely doesn't tie into the ARG. But now consider, this could be indicating to us that an editor of his had betrayed him before, or at least an employee of his had. Effectively cluing us in on, someone in Game Theory was what allowed Chaos Theory's message to get out, is what allowed Chaos Theory to get out, or be freed by the viewers. Us. The ones who matpat has been imbuing with the power of theory or whatever. So, that's very interesting, isn't it? And what's even more interesting is if my theory that Chaos Theory was weakened and then was let out by the theorist community, escaped the theorist gates, well then, we should have seen him by some point. And not only are we seeing an inverted face, and inverted colours are associated with Chaos Theory, but now, watch this, and you will be 100% sold that Chaos Theory is free, and is still glitching and manipulating matpat's videos. Just watch. From the Wario Brothers theory, observe.
Are, in fact, brothers, just like Waluigi's initial announcement said on that Mario Tennis website. But if you thought I was just gonna leave the theory there, then clearly you haven't been watching this channel for very long. In which case, welcome. Consider stomping on that subscribe button. It's black now.
Like my soul.
Now, while it's certainly cool,
Yeah, while it's certainly cool as also Matthew, I see we got more. An inverted version of matpat saying he has a black and therefore evil soul, because colour theory, which I need to remember with my English GCSE, so it's probably good that I'm mentioning it here. Darkness, evil. Yeah, an inverted man saying he's evil. Now you can see how Chaos Theory's been coming up. I dare say he's the one speaking in the red alien language, considering the fact that it's a completely unique language. He is Chaos Theory, he is red. And now we have an inverted face in the Bulbasaur ARG, which seems to be confirming that there was an editor at some point, which betrayed Matthew, and an editor. And we now have a direct appearance of him manipulating a video. Yeah, I dare say Chaos Theory has been let free. Now, just briefly, I'll jump in here and talk about the endings. The endings don't give us a whole lot with us, so I'm not going to directly show them. I think I wasted enough of your time by giving you like 4 minutes of me going frame by frame through a matpat video. So I'll just quickly summarise. In one ending, there's the horror ending. Right, these are the multiple endings of Game Theory from matpat's reign. Obviously, I didn't know about them when I initially made this video. They don't really matter for the theory, but I'll at least mention them. In the horror ending, we learn of a creepy entity who's, I believe, blacked out on the news footage, who's behind you and going to kill you, and in the Wilbur ARG section of the creepy editor that's killing people, it is behind head editor Dan, about to kill, and kills him. So, and he's shadowing. So, yeah, and the fact that Chaos Theory is also there, I'm going to take this to be a literal event. While, yes, someone on matpat's team has betrayed him before, I think that's what the not again is referring to, I do think that this shadow assassin, shall we say, is one of Chaos Theory's disciples, followers, friends, whatever you want to say. And also, interestingly, could very well be the creature mentioned in the horror ending, but that's not really true. There's also the chaos ending, which is incomplete chaos. You see people crying, see people being hurt. This to me implies a kind of... This to me is almost like the threat of Chaos Theory, like this is what he could do. But neither are particularly relevant. They don't give us any direct confirmation either way, and they don't really give us too much new information. Just that, yeah, chaos, bad, will lead to Ash crying on the floor as Chaos Theory tortures everybody around them and makes people kill each other. Okay, So now that we have all of this, how does it all fit together? How does the puzzle come together? I mean, matpat has given us the puzzle pieces. The pieces are in place for us. All we have to do is find them. So, can we find them? Yes. Because of one pretty simple, actually. Basically, one simple theory. All we have to do is work out who's... Well, first off, let's try and work out the identities of some of the people in these videos. First off, because there are four people speaking here. Obviously, the red alien language. Okay, that's chaos theory. I dare say the yellow one is the one who's betraying matpat, because as the yellow one gets... Well, first off, the yellow one is the only one that's treated differently. When most of them stop talking, it simply goes away and the next person starts writing. But the yellow one has to actively backtrack, implying they're being spoken over. And it makes sense. They say good, and they're corrected by the blue one as saying great. I'm going to go ahead and say the shadow assassin is the blue one, because blue, like shades of blue, are typically made to used to make black. So that feels like it makes sense. And the fact it corrects him by saying great, and then also the fact that the yellow one slowly changes colour as it's being backtracked to purple, implies to me a dual nature. Or maybe that it is literally being killed and being replaced by someone else. Almost like an obsession, but probably just to represent the dual nature of them. So, who's the green one? I mean, he says, hello internet. Well, personally, I think that he's probably the guy from the beginning of the Jacksepticeye video. I won't really bother because it's not really important. He's called Anti-Matpat. He doesn't really do anything. There'll probably be a picture of him on screen, but what he actually says and does doesn't matter. He's just largely used as a joke. But it does kind of give me almost like a Shigaraki and all-for-one style relationship, right? Chaos Theory, the actual inverted evil matpat, is, lending a hand to this anti-matpat. He's training him, teaching him to be the next danger. Which is interesting when you consider that matpat is training his audience to be the next generation of theorists. It's almost kind of like he's All Might and Where Deku, he's telling us to eat his hair, he's giving us the power of theory. I mean, presumably in this universe, if he's capable of constructing the theory gates to hold back chaos theory, he must have similar magical powers. Or not similar, but other magical powers that I would just refer to as the power of theory. It came in 4 separate versions: style, food, game, film. He lost them at some point, and they've slowly been returning to him. This checked him off that chaos theory will probably be returning, or is getting stronger, and so he started to give his power to the next generation. Ironically, chaos theory was able to use a member of his own team to get his own audience, who are now imbued with his power of theory. These people that he taught to look into details. All the evil team had to do was trick us into thinking it was an ARG. A bit of fun. Set up a big mystery, and there's no way these people that matpat have taught to take on mysteries would be able to deny it. Then they would be able to open the theory gates. They, the ones imbued with matpat's power, would be able to free chaos theory. It's frankly a great evil plan. And the best thing is, matpat probably wouldn't have any knowledge of it, and this is why I said that the earlier theories on the Chaos ARG aren't relevant. Not only does it make sense they wouldn't be in universe, but then it proves matpat doesn't know about it. So that's the story so far. Honestly, remember that thing I said about Mickey Mouse earlier? Well, the story could be a parallel here. I mean, childhood friends, one gets corrupted by an evil influence, and now they're rivals. I mean, I'm just saying. That could be the backstory right there. And I am partial to it. I'm going to admit something I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to anyway. I watched Gacha. In fact, I still watch Gacha videos on YouTube. And don't give me shit for it, okay? A lot of it sucks. A lot of it is cringe. But not only can you make good stuff if you really put the effort in and really want to. In fact, it's a very easy way to make stories. That's why a bunch of kids use it. So I would 100% suggest, if you just want a quick, easy way to kind of get out some story ideas, flex your creativity muscles, and don't want to have to, write a book, or animate when you're not very good at drawing, like moi, or you're just too young to really do any of that, then yeah, I'd say gacha videos are a way to go. You take screenshots, you move them around, it's all very easy. But there's some good stuff there. One that I remember watching as a kid, I would have been about, like, same time I probably before, well, I don't know when it was in relation to when I started watching Game Theory, but I remember really liking it. It wasn't actually the main storyline. This was a prequel series. The main storyline sucked and I didn't care about it. But the prequel series was interesting because it had the idea of, like, oh, one sibling is special and one sibling isn't. One sibling goes to a witch and she gets corrupted by a demon and now she's the villain. And she leads into being the villain from the main show. Eventually, the prequel kind of goes off the rails and kind of forgets that it's supposed to be a prequel, so the villain needs to stay the villain to lead into the events of the main storyline. But at least at first, it really caught my interest as a kid, and frankly, I still really love that storyline. Obviously, in this case, probably aren't siblings, but childhood friends, one getting corrupted by, like, one naturally having the power of theory, naturally being powerful, the beloved child in the town, only for, one to be jealous and to get corrupted by the chaos of the universe. To get corrupted into chaos theory, only for the two to have a massive battle, which ends with matpat losing his powers, only for chaos theory to then be trapped among them. Basically, he uses all his powers to control Fierce. Then matpat lives a regular life. He meets Steph, and his life begins until he notices his power of game coming back. And once that's fully back, the power of film. Once that's fully back, the power of food. And so on until style, right? And once that's done, the power of style. And then once that's done, presumably that'll be when the big boss battle happens. But which we'll get to in a second, once we give this the full storyline. That's just me filling in a lot of the blanks. But we still have to ask the question then, who would have edited this video to help free Chaos Theory? Who would be helping Chaos Theory? Well, there are quite a few people we can look at. First off, we'll go over the easy eliminations. Matpat himself obviously wouldn't have, he's the one who trapped him. Steph, presumably she knows, and I just don't see a world. There's not a lot of evidence for it. She has no means, motive, or opportunity. Well, she has opportunity and means, but she has no motive. The easy ones are Skip, Ollie. I've got a bit back and forth on if I should mention him, but I think he was so iconic to Game Theory that it does feel wrong not to mention Ronnie. Now, to be clear, I'm not mentioning Ronnie in the context of funny theory. I'm not doing that. But the guy's one of the most iconic editors. His style, to me, has such great nostalgia, and any time someone dies by suicide and depression, it is a shame. I will be putting... Hope to hell I remember. I should do. I will be putting, the suicide hotline in the description. If you or someone you know is suffering from depression or suicidal thoughts, please get help. Please don't sit in silence. People love you. People want you to live. Please do get yourself the help you need. I will also try to leave a link in the description to, if I can find it, the charity. Because after Ronnie's suicide, Steph and Matt did a stream where they supported a charity. So I'll leave that in the description to anyone who is both willing and able to donate. Obviously, we won't be including Ronnie in the actual contestants, for obvious reasons. But I really wanted to mention him. It felt like it would be a shame for him not to get some kind of mention when he's such an iconic part of these channels, Just because someone is dead, that doesn't mean we can't respectfully mention them. There have been days where I felt bad. Never to the point of suicide, but there have been days where I've cursed my own will to live, the fact that I can't at least consider it. But I've always been happy afterwards when I get out of those moments of darkness. And I've been happy that I didn't hurt myself or kill myself. I've been glad for my will to live. So please just look after yourself. things get better, people love you. Anyway, onto a significantly more positive, funny theory. Okay, onto... what am I talking? Onto other people we can pretty easily wipe out of the contention. First off, Miramat also there. First off, Miramat, Austin, Gaijin Guma, pretty much anyone who's been with the channel and then left shouldn't be considered because obviously they've left. We could also reasonably take off... okay, well, let's see. A lot of people are mentioned across a lot of videos. I mean, we could... okay, let's establish the means, motive, and opportunity that would lead to someone being committed. Means, honestly, isn't that difficult. Because in-universe, this probably isn't even an edit. Right, in-universe, this is literally Chaos Theory's power manipulating the video and allowing all of these entities to speak to the audience. Therefore, it doesn't even really require editing prowess, presumably. Opportunity pretty much just means that you need to be able to go to the video, maybe, and, you know, and basically say, hey, I need to put in a last-minute theory for matpat. Oh, a last-minute edit for matpat. And then also be able to release the video, but again, that assumes it's a video and not something else in universe. So maybe, but that would presumably require you to be a high-up position in the company, someone who's trusted and could very easily get away with doing something like this, without matpat's permission, without matpat having to look at it, and without no one being suspicious, since matpat seemingly doesn't know that any of this has happened, at least not while it's happening. And so, for this to... and so maybe you would have to be a high-up member of Team Theorist, maybe even an editor. It depends on whether or not this is a video or just something else in universe. If this is something else in universe, then there's not really any means or opportunity that we really could put. And motive we can't really define, so let's just go through everything, I guess. Most of the editors weren't really haven't been given enough of a spotlight. Like, sure, there's Sedge and there's the Neko Catgirl one, but Neko, that is Neko. I realize I should be careful with how things sound on the internet. That's the Japanese word basically for a catgirl. Map editor, but like, they may come up often, but like, they're really not that relevant to the lore, so it's kind of a matter of what matters. And frankly, that's like, you know, Chris, no motive. He's friends with them. He has a negative motive, if anything. Lee, one of the earliest editors, probably doesn't have a motive. In fact, we can pretty much assume, while the channel directors are all high-up people, they really wouldn't have a motive. If anything, they're getting, like, praise out of this. And that's the problem. Nobody has motive. I mean, there's Yossi, the audio master, but there's nothing really audio-based about it. It's all, if anything, they're speaking to you through text. Sure, I had a memory of as a kid of them being, you know, a distorted matpat voice saying all of this to you, but that memory was wrong. It's all just text, so it doesn't make sense that Yossi would be the traitor here. Nobody in this entire channel has any motive to betray matpat, and that's the one piece of evidence we can really go off of. So, I mean, I guess I just have to call the theory here. It's impossible. There's no law here. Right?
Video. And you know what? I'm not alone. Today I've brought in Team Theorist who will help carry out a series of experiments with me. Say hello, Theorists!
Hello!
Just wondering when we're gonna get paid.
Sorry, I can't really hear you when you all talk over each other like that. Hopefully it was nothing important. Anyway, the first experiment they'll perform is just a straightforward tally of how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop. And
I can send you another one.
3, 2... You all talk over each other like that. Hopefully it was nothing important. Anyway, the first experiment, Mr. Beast's rules. For the purposes of our do this team, get licking. We'll check back with him. Pop. Let's start with what a lecithin is. Weighs 5 stack holes, atoms, which are case this molecule center. They're thinking here, saliva. Team Theorist. A lot of brightly colored tongues out there. I like what I'm seeing. Now, before this commonly heat, popped as natural P hydrogen. Trying 340, 420, lol, dissolves. Alright, looks like Team Theorist has all reached the center. We've got 450, 420, lol, and 274. Good job, Amy. Plus my childhood total of 314 added up to find the average, and we get 364.5 licks. Right on target with those research
You know it's an experiment.
earlier, but none of us have beaten Mr. Beast, which means that we've all failed.
Well, you know it's an experiment, so we didn't really fail per se.
Spoken like a true failure there, researcher number 3.
You know I have a name, right?
Now then, if we are gonna be experiment will need the temperature highly. So
Got my 4.
let's see pops. We'll need 4, all with an equal mass. Let's aim for 17 grams.
Got my 4.
Same here.
How about you, number 3? Number 3? And number 3 somehow lost focus on his camera. Forget him, he's a straggler. We're better off without him anyway. Start your timers, team, and let's
To about
to beat Mr. Final round of stats and exercise. Can, in fact, he pops the full said, encouraged since our about full of very all at nothing. I'm drinking all in on bringing the whole Fierce gang for this one. The more the merrier. Oh, we're like a little Brady bunch here. Man, content back in this era was so much simpler. People were delighted by stuff like this. Now it just barely qualifies as a TikTok. Oh, hey, researcher number 1 is opting for the shower. Smart, heat, and humidity. Folks, we are pulling out all the stops. With the powers of science on our side, surely at least one of us will be able to beat 270 licks. I just hope it's me, because I'm about to put some very unflattering licking footage out there onto the internet. And besting Mr. 2-1. Saint the things the center in under 2. Anyway, enough about my problems. How'd we do, guys? How many people made it to the center in under 270 licks? Good job, guys. Congrats to everyone. Couldn't help but notice that researcher number 3 didn't make the cut. Can't say that I'm surprised. But now the moment we've all been waiting for. The reveal of how many licks it took me to reach the center.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was wondering.
117. That's right, YouTube. I'm matpat with a lick total of 117. Have hereby defeated Mr. Beast. I am unashamed to announce that I have defeated Mr. Beast in a contest that he didn't even know that he was a part of. Food Theory editors, you know what to do now. Bring on that confetti. Available. I'm Matt. So much. Guess what? Pillsbury doughboy that it is. Just
Yeah. This is why it was important to establish the differences between the real world and the in-universe world. I could just steal a line from a matpat video. Instead, I'm just gonna steal a clip from a matpat video. Just change out the word Mark for Matt, and I think it will fit perfectly.
he's created. And if we're being honest, Mark's character in this fictional metaverse is, quite frankly, a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, Matt is similar to Mark inside the story he's created. He is a jerk. I mean, he's not paying his employees, at least not on time, and he actively mocks, ridicules, makes fun of, and silences anyone who tries to speak up. Like a dictator, almost. Which makes sense, dictators do like order. My point is, researcher number 3, or more accurately, head editor Dan, he tells he has a name, so I'm going to go forward and assume that this is Dan. Head editor Dan definitely would have motivation. I mean, if he is not being paid, you could see how that stress could get to him. Now imagine a situation where Chaos Theory manages to just get enough of its power outside of the Theorist Gates to be able to make a deal with him. He could grant Dan power, but on the other hand, Dan will have to betray matpat. And what's the most interesting is the fact that Dan is still treated badly among the villains. Like any good someone betrays someone else story, it ends in irony. Look, go back in the video and watch, watch the clip where I play the opening of the ARG again. If Dan is the yellow speaker, and I think it makes sense that he is actively corrected. He says good, blue says great. He is the only one to actively hit the back button on, and his color changes, mocking his dual nature. Or he gets killed and then haunted by and then possessed by some kind of entity that has to take over dead bodies. Either way, things don't end up too great for Dan. Also, when Dan gets mad, he actively has his eyes go red. So yeah, he 100% has motivation. Also, if you'll remember, our credentials, the based on means and opportunity, assuming that it's still a video, is that they probably have to be an editor and be in a higher position. Head editor fills both of those roles quite nicely, so I'm going to say, from here until infinity, head editor Dan is the traitor. And the funny thing is, he probably knows how evil Chaos Theory is. I mean, presumably matpat is actively utilizing his powers of theory or whatever in universe, and so presumably the people working for him know what that means, and therefore should know against the evil he's pulling. And yet, despite knowing about the evil,
But still, in a quaint feint, still hands them the tainted paint. This man ain't no saint.
exactly, he still frees an evil entity, but partly because of matpat being cruel to him. As for other people we could mention, like Jason. I mean, hashtag blame Jason, so it's Jason's fault, right? No, Jason is friends with Matt and Steph, who wouldn't give him a motive to betray them. And also, while he is in a higher position as the Daily Planner, he's arguably in too high a position to betray Matt. Because if he was betraying Matt for Chaos Theory, he could do a lot more than just free Chaos Theory. He could quite easily over or under schedule Matt, make sure there are scheduling conflicts, completely burn out Matt to destroy these channels from the outside, and then let Chaos Theory get him when he was weak. So, no, Jason. Despite the fact that in the GT Lives, in the ARG, it is Jason actively giving people the codes to escape, I'm willing to say, again, we're ruling off GT Live, and while we could add the ones that bring up that are, in the ARG, I'm willing to say that this was just oh, is it a literal video game that you have to play to open gate 4? I'm willing to say no. These are all symbolic of the story. And now we basically have everything we need to put the story together. Two friends in Matt and Chaos Theory end up growing apart. One's jealousy corrupts them, and one day they find this great ancient power of chaos that absorbs into them, and they become Chaos Theory. Chaos Theory slowly builds up allies, as does Matt, until eventually it all comes to head in one final battle. The two fight. Matpat loses his powers, but in the process is able to erect the Theory Gates, permanently trapping Chaos Theory. From there, he's able to just live his life. He's aware that, the Shadow Assassin and is still on the run, but, he's not too worried. The Shadow Assassin probably won't make a move unless Chaos Theory is freed. And so he lives a normal life, gets a wife, until his powers start coming back. But he realizes he can't endanger his family. He's too used to living a normal life, and so, similar to All Might, he chooses that he must give his powers to the next generation. And that's when he starts making videos or doing whatever he does in universe. Imbuing us, the audience, with the power of theory. At some point he gets a team, but treats one of them horribly, acting almost like a dictator, causing that one to betray him, make a deal with Chaos, and in his weakened and saddened state he makes a deal with Chaos Theory, and using Chaos Theory's power, or just his own editing power, and status, he's able to send a communication to matpat's successors. That would be us, the audience. And we then free Chaos Theory because we believe it's just an ARG, just a puzzle that's been set up. By the time matpat realizes that Chaos Theory is freed, it's too late. The Shadow Assassin has killed Dan and numerous other editors. Except Lee, because Lee is still alive later in the storyline, so Lee might be able to raise himself from the dead. We won't worry about that. Point is, the Shadow Assassin is back. The moment matpat realizes the Shadow Assassin is back, he realizes Chaos Theory is back. And so now Chaos Theory is messing with matpat's videos, and it's gonna be, and in the grand finale, when the 4th channel comes out, all 4 rings of the Theory logo will be complete. And they will all come together, imbuing the middle with a power. The middle will open and we'll enter this big boss fight against Chaos Theory, where us, the audience, will be the ones who have to use the power of theory. All of the tools that matpat has given us and taught us, all of the power he's given us. And we will collectively have to come together and destroy him. Was the original ending of this video. Or theory. Before, obviously, matpat retired and that had to change. But the funny thing is, I think that the themes that have been here throughout this theory, despite being made long before matpat announced his retirement, still kind of line up. The idea that he's imbuing the next generation with the power of theory, the idea that he's teaching us, the idea, even of Chaos Theory and anti-matpat being, a passing of the torch. Yeah. I think that's very interesting from an in-universe perspective. Or it's just interesting to me that, like, I came up with this big storyline where he's imbuing us with his power, like, oh my. And then that's what happened, right? He passed on his powers to the next generation in Amy, Lee, Tom, and Sandy. That's pretty much the theory over. I could end it here, but I actually want to talk about the new hosts. At the time of recording, Amy's released 4 videos, which means the others would have released 8. Right, this video will probably take a while to get out the door. I have to edit the final FNAF one. Honestly, I probably have to Well, no, I'll just have to edit it. I am a bit unhappy with that one. There are certain things I wish I could say. I might go in and splice the audio and add stuff in. Anyway, I've still got to finish the final FNAF one, and then I'm going to release this one the week after, which means I have to get this one and the final FNAF one done. Then release all the FNAF ones, then a week later release this one. So, I'm going to talk about each of the hosts, and there will be some criticism, I'll be honest, up front. There will be some criticism. Tell me if the criticism has been acted. I think it'll be interesting to watch, like, by the time this theory comes out, will the criticism be invalid or will it be more valid? We'll see. First off, let's start with Lee. I don't think there's anything to complain about. I think he's pretty good. Like, obviously, none of them have the star power of matpat, which means then none of them are going to be as good as matpat. They don't have the years of training, etc. But I think Lee's a pretty good replacement. And, yeah, I think he's done really cool science videos. He's done really cool, nuclear bomb videos. He's one of the earliest editors, so it's not a surprise that he can match this, style of the channels. I think he's done great. Honestly, the only complaint I have is that, well, first off, he's a guy who owns 4 swords. That's just, goddamn awesome. And that's great. The only real complaint I have is the fact that he doesn't have 4 arms on his back to hold his swords like General Grievous, and frankly, that's an unacceptable oversight, and they better amend that. Jokes aside, he is definitely the best. Not the best, but he's really good as a host, and I'm looking forward to where he goes with that. Tom, I think he's been a good host. The only problem I have is the jokes. There are times where, I can hear matpat telling a joke, especially, in its, first few videos. It's got better since then. I can hear matpat telling a joke as he's telling it, and it's really surreal and weird. Also, I'm going to be honest, wordplay and kind of puns don't work. He has a bit of a flat voice, which works for theorizing. It means you're getting the information in a methodical, slow manner, which I really like. But for telling jokes, and especially for putting emphasis on words for wordplay, I don't think it works as well. This might be something he'll get better at as he hosts, or they might learn to write the jokes to fit his skill set a bit more. Either way, also, can we play as just 2 episodes in a row? Fortunately not the recent Doors episode, but 2 episodes in a row. They had the trousers or pants, I suppose, American flags on the screen, and he says chips, and then all the hosts come in and look at him, and he sighs and goes fries. To be perfectly honest, it was not funny the first time, and it was even less funny the second time. First time I was like, okay, lamp shining the factory's British, okay, sure. And then the second time it happened, I was just like, fortunately, it hasn't happened recently, so it doesn't seem like this is going to be a, joke all the time. I just think, if you need him to speak in the American dialect, because that's the audience you want to apply for, or that's, most of the people working on it are American and then won't understand British dialect or whatever, fine. That is perfectly fine. Just tell him to speak American, because it stops the whole flow of the episode for no reason. I just, don't... it is kind of sad to see him. I'd rather he just speak American or speak British, not have to speak kind of both, and then, I don't know. Also, Matt Vanna said he actively goes out of his way to, or did go out of his way to actively remove all of the Britishisms from a script, which, harsh, but also, I guess, I can understand it in the sense of, phrases you may not know or understand. In terms of spelling, that's that's a little harsh, man. Also, I'm sorry, but Colour, it's difficult, because, I'm not very good at spelling, but I can tell you that is the better way to spell the word, because it's call our color. It's not color, is it? So, also, I can prove that he has used the British dialect in the past. Watch this. This clip is from, it's from an episode about copyright on video games. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know why. As a kid, I loved it. For some reason, as a kid, this is the episode that I repeatedly came back to and rewatched. That and the FNAF stuff, the main ones I rewatched. Why did little kid me love copyright so much? I don't know. The opening's really funny, and it's what I'm about to refer to, but, I would watch the whole thing through. Fairly frequently. I guess little kid me just was an absolute loser and a nerd and absolutely loved copyright law. For some reason, I don't know, this is the one I found really entertaining as a kid, and the one I just rewatched a bunch. Anyway, yeah, this is a Nintendo copyright one. Here you go, I'm just gonna play it.
Well, it took me 10 years, you guys, but my video game is finally finished. Oh, this is amazing! Finally! It's called, drumroll please, Superb Barrio Siblings! You play as two Spanish electricians traveling through the Truffle Empire to rescue Queen Nectarine from the evil clutches of King Trouser. Oh yeah, an evil pants creature. Any similarities to other game franchises are purely coincidental, I swear. And it is going up on Game Jolt right now.
Did you catch that? King Trouser. British dialect. He is a liar. He is a fraud. Cancel him! Cancel the hypocrite! Burn the American who uses British dialect! Let him burn! I'm sorry, I don't know what came over.
It's what came over you! The flag!
Okay, but yeah, obviously that's a joke. Aside from, some of the jokes that didn't land for me, honestly, I think Tom's been doing a great job. On to Santi. He's the best, and I knew he was going to be the best before he ever even started hosting. He just felt like he had the most personality. He likes to work out, which feels like, for all the others, all of their interests, Amy likes cosplay, Tom likes Pokemon, Lee is the film guy. You see what I'm saying? All of their interests are, directly linked to the thing they're doing on the channel. I didn't feel like there were really interests outside of that. Whereas Santi likes working out, which, while being somewhat related to food, is not actually, directly related. And I think that helped him a lot. I also just think he's the most charismatic, he's the best looking, if we're being honest. He's the funniest, he's the most charming. We all love Santi. And frankly, ever since he's come on as host, he's just proved me right that he was going to be the best. I knew he would be the best. He is the best. Frankly, he's better than all the other hosts combined. Out of all the channels, I would say I probably liked them all, due to the fact there's not matpat, this guy you're familiar with, this guy you've been watching for years, there are these new hosts. I think you could be fair to say that your enjoyment has dropped at least a little for every channel. Except Food Theory, which I would say I've even enjoyed more. Not because matpat was bad, but just because Santi is so good and so good at food that I think he really does well. You know what? Here, I will give you a compilation of Santi just being the absolute showstopper that he is. He is, to prove my point. And then we'll talk about Amy. Sorry, talk about Santi anymore. But just what a great host. Santi is by far the best. Anyway, here you go.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory, the show that's stepping up its hotness in more ways than one.
Food science. For starters, raspberries are...
What do you think you're doing?
Oh, it's Santi. What does it look like I'm doing? I'm about to explain the science of a video game item.
What it looks like you're doing is trying to steal my thing. I'm the Food Theory guy.
Tell you what, why don't you tell the audience about the nutritional value of raspberries and mushrooms, and I'll chime in to talk about how it helps us solve our in-game mystery.
You mean work together? I guess I could give that a try. Raspberries are actually a great ingredient to have in an athlete's juice. They're an excellent source of complex carbohydrates, supplying your body with a sustained energy source. Raspberries also contain beta-carotene, which can improve eyesight.
So with raspberries, a player can push for longer while also no-scope.
You see, every time you breathe, your body produces what are known as free radicals. Free radicals end up damaging your DNA and tissues. Antioxidants are able to neutralize those free radicals.
So if a person is would help to heal them.
I've been gravitating to lately. They're low in calories, they contain minerals like potassium and magnesium that help muscle function, and they're a pretty decent source of protein. If you're looking for a non-meat alternative for muscle growth, you could do a lot worse than mushrooms. Plenty of companies even sell mushroom powders you mix with your coffees, shakes, and of course juices. One great example is the cordyceps fungus.
Wait. Isn't that what causes the zombie
Foods. Confused? You Hello, Internet. Wheel. There's no such vegetable, except it totally is. Confused? Wrong. Nope, not a vegetable. Correct, not a vegetable, except it totally is. Confused? You should be. Vegetables aren't real. There's no such thing, and I can prove it.
Feels wrong. But Kibby needed to know if my arms, my legs, my face, and yes, my stomach were slim or fleshy. And while I have lost some of his fleshy, but his broader build meant his results, unsurprisingly, skewed more masculine or yang. So I ended up riding the line between two different categories, soft gamine and romantic, while Santi came out as classic. And to put the advice that they gave us to the test, we both put together our own Kibby outfits. First, I invited a little help from Food Theory host Santi.
Hello!
Welcome back to being on Style Theory. Are you ready to put your body on display for all of the internet to see and make opinions about?
Is it too late to leave?
Yes, I locked the doors when you came in.
Then yes!
You see, while the party was, let's see if these all things. So, Santi, what do you think your body type is?
It's not something I've ever really thought about. Yeah, I just go and buy clothes. Like I rarely even go into fitting rooms. I'm just like, that shirt, sure, and then if it fits, it fits.
So what would you say that you usually
Fitting clothes
in some kind of fit?
typically comes to fairly loose fitting clothes. For me, I want to like try and highlight certain features and hide others, and typically like tighter fitting clothes, it's harder.
And so when you think about what you want to emphasize, what do you usually try to hide versus show off?
It comes down to showing off these guns.
And that leads us on to Amy, who, frankly, is kind of the whole reason I wanted to put a little review of each of the hosts at the end here. Because I've seen a lot of varying opinions on her across the subreddit, mainly, but in the community at large. I've seen some people being really on the Amy train, real defensive, real supportive, and I've seen other people levelling what I would say are fairly fair criticisms. So let's go through them, because, well, why not? I mean, it's always good to have constructive criticism. So, first off, it's the fact that she's a professional in the field. The whole joy, I think, for a lot of people was watching, and this might explain why she's so divisive. It's not like everyone dislikes her, it's not like everyone likes her, it's very split. So, why? Well, I think it mainly comes down to the fact that she is very good at style. Now, that should strengthen her. But I think for a lot of people, the joy of Style Theory was they're not really stylish people, but they enjoy watching matpat talk about it and learn about it. It felt like you were watching an old friend talk about something, it was interesting, it felt more personal. And then you have Amy, who's a professional in the field, and it feels a bit more like every other style channel, Another thing that I think goes with that, and also, you'll see. Another thing that goes with that is the fact that really a lot of her videos are very samey, reviewing. Sure, she'd review ways to shave, she reviewed shaving products, and then she reviewed Temu, and then she reviewed, different body type tests. It felt like a lot of the same, and when you're producing a video every other week as opposed to every week, it leads to people having that feeling a lot more. Now, this is something that was actually leveled at Food Theory as well. The fact that his first video was a review definitely left a bit of a lot to be desired for a lot of people. The difference is that he was, within a week, able to put out something new, and every week's been able to put out something new. And, it was a psychology, so it felt a lot more, close to what these channels were supposed to be. Now, in theory, Santi being a professional in the field should be the same, because Matpat was someone not familiar with food learning about food. I think the difference is that everyone needs food, and everyone eats, and everyone gets food from, like, fast food joints, or most people do every now and again at least. So it would stand to reason that getting in someone who is a professional in food is a lot, like, for a lot of people, is a lot more acceptable, whereas with style, if you're not into style, like I'm not into style, I'm a social recluse teenager who's likely, who's in the process of getting diagnosed with autism, likely is autistic, like, no, I'm antisocial, I don't care for style, I only really care if something's comfortable. So, yeah, style theory to me doesn't really have much value aside from that. So I can definitely understand where people were coming from with that complaint, the idea that it felt like, like Amy's unfamiliar. I don't think her lineup helped her, because there were ways to circumvent this, right? By having episodes early on that would show how her being a professional in style not only doesn't change her relatability, but also helps the channel. And I just feel like she kind of missed the mark. Like, let's give you an example. You could have done an episode about cosplay. Amy is into cosplay, it allows you to immediately establish her personality, which immediately makes the audience like her more, and also would immediately show that her knowledge could be useful. I mean, this was a theory that Matt would never be able to do, well, for personal to a lot of people, who would feel a lot more approachable and a lot more casual. I think the Closet episode that she just released this week actually did a very good job of showing that. Like, let's go through each one. The shaving episode was pretty generic. It was a follow-up to some of the shaving episodes they'd done in the past. It was pretty good, but it wasn't anything special. For a first release, it definitely could have maybe helped establish her personality a bit more. Sure, in both this video and the body style video, she talks about how, this channel's helping her discover herself and all that. But that's just a lot of monologuing. She should be showing her personality, not telling. When you tell me, oh, this feels really good because I've been insecure about X, Y, Z, sure, I feel bad for you and I feel glad that you've been able to get that experience, but it doesn't allow me to connect your personality. The Closet, I think, did a very good job, and I'll explain why. It immediately showed she had a cat. It immediately showed she loves her cat. It established a bit of humour around the cat, which is funny, and it immediately establishes her, as relatable, as personal, as a bit of a slob, and shows how her knowledge can actually be beneficial to you, the audience. Now consider, the body type. That's what I'm looking for, body type episode. It just doesn't have that same usefulness because most people, I would assume, just, pick clothes that they feel look good, pick clothes that they feel comfortable. And if you are going off body type, in fact, we'll get to that one because that one's real bad. The other main thing that I saw leaving a bad taste in people's mouths was the Temu episode. Because it talked about, this big conspiracy, how they could be using, well, not really a big conspiracy, that they could be potentially trying to use a law to be able to keep their, shipping costs down to avoid taxes. But, the moment you told me Temu has incredibly low prices on a bunch of stuff, I immediately thought, oh, okay, so they're using child labour from another country. So, it's weird to me that nobody... But then, that wasn't mentioned in the episode, so I just kind of assumed, oh, okay then. Maybe not. Maybe they are just using this law, and that's what allows them to keep their costs down. No. And maybe they're getting bad products. But no. Because then I went literally to a writer. And to be clear, that episode wasn't sponsored. The Temu episode wasn't sponsored, so they could have said whatever they wanted. So they definitely have no excuse. Meanwhile, you go to Right Toast, Temu, who, funny enough, was being sponsored by Temu the same week that episode came out. Small world, and it came out as I was watching the Star Theory episode, so that's funny. And, people in the comments were like, whoa, I'm surprised you would take an ad for this company, considering the fact they use child labour. And so I definitely saw it left a bad taste in people's mouths, and yeah, I mean, in the episode she does kind of endorse Temu without directly stating the whole child labour thing, unpaid child labour, that's not, and like, to be fair, that's not her fault. That's the fault of everyone who worked on that script. Because the fact that I heard that they have low prices and went, okay, so they're using child labour, someone should have double checked this, someone somewhere should have researched this. But Amy, as the face of the channel, is the one who's going to suffer the consequences of public opinion. And yeah, having your second ever video even seem to somewhat endorse a company that uses child labour, or your second ever video as host, yeah, that's unfortunate. And and then there's the body types episode. In my opinion, this was a prime example because people were complaining about the fact that, they weren't seeing as much science and psychology. Whereas I feel, and when you're dealing with when you're dealing with half the amount of uploads in a given time as anyone else, as the other three channels, you don't have the ability to cover as wide a range of topics as quickly, so you've really got to be careful with your scheduling. The body types episode was a hit, it was a swing and a miss, really, in my opinion. In fact, I dare say, I'm going to be very harsh on this episode, it was a blunder. I mean, it had Santi, so he saved it, but, well, he didn't save it, but he helped it. But it just didn't do what it should have done. Like, it acted as if the point of these body type tests is to, make yourself feel good. But if the only thing you care about is feeling good, then you would just wear pajamas. And if you wanted to look good, you would trust your own instincts and what you usually wear anyway. The point here is to look good to other people. That's why these tests exist. They're to make you look stylish, look attractive to other people. So having the review process for wearing these types of outfits be, how do I feel about it, doesn't really make sense because the point isn't about how you feel about the outfit you're wearing, it's about how everyone else feels. And this was such an easy solution to this problem. Do some audience participation. Do like what you did for the color theory. Release a bunch of, photos. Have photos of you in all kinds of outfits that supposedly match the body type tester, and outfits that you just feel look good. Get people to answer what looks better, and then review the data. Is there any actual evidence the body types even work? That would have worked very well. Also, before you got into that data, you should have talked about the psychology of body types. Why does this clothing look good on this body type? Is it that everyone's trying to get to a certain body type, like all fat body types try and slim down, all underweight body types try and widen out the frame? Or is it a bit more vague? If you have a pear-shaped body, are you going to be told to make certain areas look bigger and smaller that might be different from someone with an apple to someone with a banana? I don't really know body types. This is just a hypothetical example. My point is there a psychological or even biological reason why certain body types should go with certain clothes, or is there no real scientific reasoning? And even if there is a scientific reason why that could be the case, do the actual tests back it up? You see how cool that episode could have been? How you could have had audience participation, or even just gone around the office asking people to pick the best of the images. Because also, by asking, a group of people, not only do you actually get what other people think, but it also takes out bias. I, for example, really don't like people showing stomach skin. It makes me incredibly uncomfortable. And always has. Only, when they're wearing clothing, though. I don't think it's just stomach skin in general. It's, specifically if you're kind of only showing off that area, it makes me a bit uncomfortable. And it always has, I've just personally never liked that. But because you're asking such a wide variety of people, it shouldn't matter. Also, you would be doing it in such a way where there would be crop tops and etc. in many image, in both the body type and non-body type images, and therefore, in theory, this bias of mine would be roughly cancelled out. Whereas, if I'm just the only person reviewing it, and you're doing one outfit from each, then, yeah. So, yeah, I honestly think the body type theory, the video was just completely, it was a missed opportunity, a blunder, and I think it's a real shame. Because it could have been so cool, with so much psychological talk, and I admit I am going to hopefully do psychology at college, so admittedly I'm a little biased. But still, God, It's such a shame that that opportunity was missed. Anyway, I've already discussed the fashion show, how it wasn't really for me. It was. Well, I don't know, I don't remember. I've had to record this in multiple chunks for a variety of reasons, so I don't actually remember. But honestly, it felt very stiff. Like, the moment it started, I could tell, like, it was scripted because of how stiff Mappa was. It largely just felt like everyone was there purely to advertise their own products, like I was watching a 2-hour-long advertisement. And then the main show was people walking down a walkway in different clothes and walking out. To be fair, that is completely what I expect an actual style show, like an actual catwalk, is like. It's just really boring. I guess it just taught me that I hate fashion shows because I wanted to be there mainly to support this thing that Matt was really enjoyable about, really looking forward to, really passionate about, and then I stayed because it was the first and also because Matt's passionate about it. Will I be watching any future ones? No. Maybe if people are ranting and raving about this one really good part, I'll watch the VOD, but probably not. Unless that happens. It's not my cup of tea. That's fine. So, as I said earlier, I'm really not a big style guy. I don't care about fashion, I only care about being comfortable, so it does make sense that it really wasn't for me. But I saw some people really enjoying it, so clearly there are a lot of actual style fans here, and I think that's why Amy's so divisive. Because for people who are fans of style, having someone who's a professional in the industry, that really works. But for people who aren't, I don't think that Amy's done, a great job of, utilising concepts the best to show, hey, here's why my knowledge is actually useful, as opposed to feeling more like every other style channel out there. At least for the most part. However, I do want to point out that most of my problems here have been conceptual and schedule-based in nature. It's not like I've had a problem with Amy's actual hosting, because I think her hosting has been great. Take the closet one, or the razor one, the shaving one. They were, I think, really good. When she's not bogged down by an underutilized concept, or accidentally promoting child labour, whoopsie-doopsie, I think she really does a good job. And I honestly even think that the Timmy one does have the really funny, the funniest joke of her stealing the table. I don't know, it just kind of found funny to me. So I think that Amy is actually just a very good host who's just had an unfortunate schedule of having 3 very samey things back to back, and a really underutilized concept, plus the whole accidentally, Temu child labour thing that is not ideal. Plus the fact that she's. To give you an example of how much I don't like Style, I didn't even realise that Style Theory was bi-weekly when MatPat was hosting it, and I kind of assumed that, it's one host per channel now, so Style Theory probably won't be bi-weekly. And I never really, despite thinking that, and the fact that there was a new voice that you'd think I'd be looking out for, because sure, the same voice, okay, if one is missing every 2 weeks, that's not a shock. When it's a specific person, though, and they're different, you would expect that if I don't see one, I'd be surprised, but no. I just didn't really notice that Star Theory was still bi-weekly. Until I went back to see, because I thought I'd legitimately just forgotten some of the videos, but no. And that's why things like, the Temu and the similar concepts leave bad taste in people's mouths for longer because she's not able to. It's also interesting to see how it'll affect, I'm very interested to see the future of these channels. Seeing how because every other channel in a given year will have 52 chances for the host to have a 15 to 20 minute theory to establish themselves to you, to build up that loyalty, to show themselves as great. Amy will only get 26, half that. I'm interested to see if she'll be less good at bringing in views, or if it won't matter. That will just be very interesting to me as someone who likes human psychology. I'm also interested to see what they do with GT Live. Matt said that he'll be staying in charge of it till at least summer. He hasn't confirmed he'll be leaving after summer, just that he isn't sure. He knows he'll be staying till summer, but I'm interested to see what they do when he leaves. Will it be that the other hosts come on and switch out when it's relevant? So I would assume Tom would be on there most, but then I also know that Tom streams in his own time, so it feels like at that point you might be spreading him a bit too thin. Maybe you would put Tom's streams on GT Live, but then we miss out on Ash. I mean, you could just shut down the channel once matpat leaves, but that would feel like a waste. Or maybe you could have Tom doing GT live streams to his Mr. Dapper Tom channel, but then you're like not giving him much of a hobby. That might actively take away from his personal views. That could not work as well. I don't actually know. Maybe they'll have Ash in charge of it, but at that point it feels very disconnected. Like, it'll feel very disconnected from game theory. To call it game theory live would be weird. I'm very interested to see how that goes. Like, I'm legitimately quite intrigued. Will they put someone else in? Will it be Ash in charge? Or will Matt just stay in GT Live? Who knows? Again, he hasn't confirmed that he's leaving after summer, just that he's at least staying until summer. He might stay for longer, he might stay for years, until he's got a suitable replacement. Or maybe he'll have someone else on the couch, and then he'll slowly phase himself out and let that person take over. Ash has shown herself to be very detail-oriented, so I guess they could still use GT Live as evidence of, like, look at this finding, or look at this cutscene, so that they don't have to worry about copyright or anything. Anyway, one final part to this theory is obviously Lumen. They changed game theory to, or theoryware to Lumen. There are two theories that I have about this, and it depends entirely on whose idea this was. So, Lumen is actually the name of a Dexter character, and Amy has regularly mentioned Dexter across both the channels, GT Live, so things like that. With her being such a Dexter fan, I almost wonder if this was Amy's change. Perhaps Amy didn't want to feel like she was stuck doing merch and wanted to really go all out, and so she wanted to change it from Theoryware to Lumen. With that said, I don't really think that Amy would have the pull to do that. I mean, this is their merch brand. Doesn't feel like she'd be able to turn it into her own personal fashion brand. At least I wouldn't expect so, considering the fact it's supposed to have merch from all the channels. But one group who would have the ability to do this decision is Luna X. I mean, first off, Luna, Lumen, Luna X, Lumen, I mean, and the fact that the main thing they've been showing off for Lumen is the Northern Lights connection. Northern Lights to do with space. Lunar, moon, space. I'm just calling it like I see it. Plus the fact that this was announced once people had got comfortable with matpat's retirement. Not to say Luna had put him in retirement, or had tried to take advantage or anything, just that from a timing perspective it does line up. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Luna is a company. One, they're probably planning on buying more Theory channels, or more just YouTube channels, which they could all use to promote something. But promoting Theoryware would be very weird. Changing it to the more generic Lumen, however, would make sense. They could use that as effectively their clothing arm to sell, well, not just clothing, but really any merchandise they wanted, without being banned to a certain aesthetic. But of course, you don't want to be, fighting against your other brand. And in fact, what they did was kind of clever, or really clever, really. They took a brand with an inbuilt fan base and they changed it to Lumen using the channels. My guess is they wanted to make their own, they wanted to make their own brand to sell things, and they wanted to get a leg up. So it makes sense. Change Theoryware to Lumen, have an inbuilt set of fans who will be willing to buy off of it, while not being stripped down, or while not being tied down to specifically game theory, or game theory related, or the theory channels in general related merch. They can still sell merch, but they can do many other things, and presumably the other channels they're planning on buying will also be added to it. And then they can all have these people as well as regular old adverts on YouTube, or dare I say even the telly, to promote it, whereas before you could really only promote Theoryware through the Theorist channels, otherwise it would seem odd. And now, to be clear, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, as long as they're still creating Theorist merch, I don't think anyone's really going to mind. And honestly, Theoryware was always a bit of an awkward name. I actually do think that Lumen is better as a name. I never bought anything from Theoryware. The one thing I would say I ever really actively stopped and went, ooh, that would be nice, but would be the blanket, but otherwise I never really stopped to buy things off it. I've never been a big merch guy. But, I do think objectively Lumen is a better name and might allow them to branch out and do more things. but it might mean that the brand isn't in the Theorist HQ's hands anymore, so we'll see what they do with that. Again, it could have just been Amy's decision, or the decision of the wider Theorist team, but potentially led by Amy, or like influenced by Amy. Anyway, that's just my 2 theories there. Overall, I don't really think that's a bad thing, though. She still is talented, and I think when she's not bogged down by bad scheduling or bad concepts, like she kind of has been for the first few weeks of... Well, the first concept was pretty good, but like, it's unfortunate that she had the Temu and then the, in my opinion, complete blunder of a body type episode next to each other. But when she gets a good concept and can just go all out, also, she's really good. Also, let's be honest, when it's Halloween, we're going to get to see Amy absolutely pop off, and I guarantee she will have a massive uptick in likes, because she'll be able to show off her personality more. Also, she needs to do a cosplay episode. How, like, really, this is what she should have done for one of her first videos, to establish her personality like that. Because, as I said, like, I only watched, this thing I didn't like in Creators in Fashion, because MatPat was so excited. That's star power. And that's the kind of star power you're going to want a new host to have. So you want to establish personality as much as you can. Having her do, what are the best cosplays? What's the best way to look like a character? Or is it cheaper to make your own cosplay of good materials? Like, or is it cheaper, but, quality versus price? With, high-class costumes that you can buy, or is it better to make your own? There are best ways to make cosplay. There are all kind of cosplay episodes she could have done that I feel would have allowed her to establish her personality more. Also, she could have done, a really big one. Like, looking at the history of fashion and how it changes and what influences fashion and trying to guess where our next collective fashion sense will go. Not, in the next few months, because that always changes, but, over the next, age of humanity, will it be skin tight? Will it be loosey-goosey? What'll it be and why? That could have been a really cool episode, and I think people would have been really on board for that and are really excited. But, yeah. That's basically everything I have to say. But to be clear, I think that all of the new hosts are very good hosts, and I imagine that with time and practice, they will all be as good as MatPat, if not better, because they're starting from a different starting point. MatPat was from the early ages of the internet. He got to establish himself, but he had to learn things over time. They have the mentor of MatPat, and they've been able to give themselves an established community, so they might be able to be even better than MatPat. However, I will say that I feel like at least most of them need to get some kind of nickname. I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to say, oh yeah, I'm getting Tom on this week's stream. That's just, Tom is not a star power name. To be fair, Matthew or Amy or Lee aren't really star power names either. But Matthew had MatPat. It was something that was specific to him. It was a nickname. I feel like that's what, even Santi, Santi I feel like because his name isn't a common name he could probably get away with, but you'd still probably have to say Santi from Food Theory. So, I would suggest that probably all the hosts should focus on getting some kind of nickname or way to referring to them based off of their own name, similar to MatPat. That's just so you can establish a brand and personality. So someone can say, to their audience, yeah, I'm getting MatPat in, as opposed to, I'm getting Matthew in. And you're like, well, who's Matthew? You have to say Matthew from Game Theory, but then it feels like you're just letting him in for Game Theory. Whereas you want the host to have star power, so you can send a host to a convention and they can bring in a crowd, even though they're not doing a style or food or film or Game Theory video. Point is, I'm very excited to see where things go. I'm excited to see how they'll become celebrities. Right, MatPat became a celebrity in his own right, separate from the channel in a lot of ways. Sure, he was famous for the channel, but when you said MatPat, people knew who he was. I'm interested to see how you'll get there with Amy and Tom and stuff. Frankly, this is a very interesting time for these channels, and my god, am I excited. Also, I'm aware that this video is probably going to take, at best, this week I edit this video and the final FNAF video I need to do. And then put up all the FNAF videos probably the Monday after. So this video will probably then come up, because I wanted to have one video saved in reserve, so to give me extra time to make more videos. So then I'd be releasing it. So it'd probably take at least 3 weeks, I'd say, until this channel gets out. So there will probably be other videos I didn't mention, and other events I haven't mentioned. Trust me, that's purely because of the time of recording. But hey, tell me if, if you've seen this improvement in the recent episodes, I guess. And also, what's up this? Oh, also Sandy needs to, with how much I've talked about Sandy and how great he is, he really needs to not do, he needs to not be a celebrity that does something bad, because that'll reflect quite badly on me. If Sandy, ends up being a controversial figure, that would be unfortunate. Anyway, that about wraps this up, but I think you'll all agree, those of you that have not died inside of my basement tied up, I think you'll all agree there's only one way to end this. So, hey, that's just a theory. A theorist theory. Stay ever vigilant.